the traditional roles and models. There's still people that embody that, but I would say my parents' generation, it was very black and white.
Yeah.
And I think today it's non-existent. Katie and I have been in seasons where now it's like, man, I carry a lot more responsibility at home doing the work of the home, whether it's dishes or laundry or cleaning or whatever it is. For my friends that I see now, I don't see the clear lanes that my parents lived in. Yeah. We would take Christmas wrapping paper tubes, duct tape handles to them, and shoot fireworks at each other.
Oh, wow. So y'all did? Okay.
Legit war.
Gotcha.
So you can tell the kids who grew up with health insurance.
We're traditional. You know, at the end of the day, I'm the head of the household. And for me, what that means is, man, I have responsibility when we disagree on something to bring it before God. I don't do well when I'm on a different page than her, and I don't have the best track record. And oftentimes I know the right thing, but I'm very often wrong on the right time. And so I'm better most often to wait and submit it to God and say, bring us together on this, and when we're together, we'll move forward.
Being the first to repent, it gave me so much peace, because I was like, well, I know I'm going to screw up, but if me being the best dad looks like me being the best repenter, I'm like,
I got a chance.
I've got a chance. We are about to be tight, you know?
All right, well, welcome to the Seacoast Podcast, everyone. We're in our summer series, and we got a new person here today. But first, we have Pastor Tomilix, Pastor Josh Walters, and then Pastor Paul Andrew. There's no S. It's Andrew, not Andrews.
Yep. Got it
Andrew.
right.
All right, so I'll just jump right in and say, people at Seacoast, you've heard a lot about the retreat at Church Creek. It is under the umbrella of Pastor Greg's Pastors Collective. We won't get into all of those weeds, because I would say a lot of our listeners probably have some knowledge of this, but tell us how you fit in, and then I'll ask you some family questions and all of that.
So we moved to Charleston. We were pastoring in New York City for 12 years, and we moved down just over 3 years ago. I was running a ministry called Barnabas Network that was kind of inspired by some retreats Greg had been doing out in Montana. While we were pastoring. And so that's what brought me down here. But hanging around Greg, I got caught up in the vision, and I asked me to come on staff. So I'm the executive director, which basically just means I keep the trains running. I run the organization for him. And this year we'll serve about 1,000 pastors and ministry leaders to help them live well, finish strong. So it's a blast. We get to do a lot of fun stuff. For sure, the retreat at Church Creek is like our flagship store. It's, where so much of the magic happens. It's awesome.
So you are from Australia, right?
Correct. That's why I have kind of a mutt of an accent at this point. Let's be honest. It's like I could throw g'day or y'all into any given sentence now. So we'll just see where this goes.
Hey, I want to put him in Bamberg, South Carolina for a little while and get some country in him too. Just give him a hodgepodge.
Yeah, burst me up. People already don't understand me.
Oh, that's great.
Well, folks that are into, I don't know, reading books and going to conferences, or I would say Seacoasters who come regularly have probably heard your wife teach or read a book by Andrew. How did you guys meet? Was she out in Australia for a little while?
She came out for Bible school.
Gotcha.
And that's where we met, fell in love, had 3 kiddos while we were in Australia, then moved to New York, planted a church, and we're gluttons for punishment, so we had one more.
Yeah. So here's what's funny is I see him in the lobby the other day. It was for the Good Friday run through. Then I'm sitting there and I'm like, I think I heard Andy say something about Paul for the longest time into your life. I think you've been a lot like me. Like I haven't done a whole lot of hunting and everything. And then I want to say I've seen a picture of you over this gigantic alligator that you just took out or something. I mean, it may not have been an alligator, but I'm like you're a big time sportsman. Is that the proper word for a hunter?
You're looking at me like I am. Never been hunting of any kind.
Yeah, well, that's definitely new in my life.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've been wanting to do an episode on, and in my head I hear just dude stuff, and I put it together one time, and then it fell through and we weren't able to. So with this summer series, I was just like, yeah, let's do this, and I'm going to tie the summer into it. And so a huge part of this conversation, we're going to do some general chit chat about what I would say are very stereotypical masculine things. What does it even mean for someone to be manly? But then I would like for the bulk of the conversation, probably the second half, is to get into what does that even mean to be manly? Like, what is that helpful? What does masculinity mean? And then obviously,
now I understand why you invited me to be a part of this.
I'll let you explain that later. Hey, here's what's funny is, as far as the stereotypical side of things, I just use the word chit chat. I don't think that's too masculine.
It's not in the manly.
It's not in the handbook.
Yeah, it's not in the handbook.
Yeah, could you imagine trying to talk trash to someone and basically say, "Hey, I'm going to take you out, but I got to chit chat to Robbie back here first."
Nice.
You can't other things that aren't dudely. You can't ask for sprinkles on your yogurt and come across tough.
If any option, you don't use a straw.
No straw. Yeah. Imagine dude, I'm gonna take you.
You
out.
talking to me?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's weird.
Are y'all?
You're a straw guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's weird.
How are you going to drink a milkshake with no straw?
That's why I said
true.
when possible.
Yeah.
There's exceptions. It's like if you're having a milkshake, it's usually a little bit bigger straw though, so it's not like the little.
So when you're going to Fam's and you got your drink to go with your pizza, you're just drinking it out of the cup? You trust the cup?
I'm a man.
I'm
I'm just kidding, dude.
also have common sense.
I use straw. It's just not. You don't see. There ain't no masculine way to use a straw. Is all I'm saying.
Well, here's what's funny is
You look a little weird. I do it from time to time. I'm just saying.
I could see T pulling it off for some reason. I'm just trying to envision him talking a bunch of smack with someone and then sipping on a straw. It's kind of like in a Biggie Smalls
I'm willing
way.
to bet you.
Let's go get a Sprite.
I'm willing to bet you that I can walk through the mall drinking a juice box through a straw and nobody says nothing to me.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's kind of the only way to drink a juice box, though.
You have some unfair advantages, though.
That's
Hey,
true.
You have some unfair advantages.
You're a little
That's
bigger,
kind of
dude.
cool.
There's a size factor at play. It's like once you get a certain height and build,
Yeah,
like
straw is
Shaq
acceptable?
drinking out of straw.
I'm sorry. We got to cut to the chase. You can pull it off. You're black.
That too.
I'm telling you, a white guy walking around with a juice box, you can't cut it. There's no giving him the benefit of the doubt.
That's true. It's true.
Giving him the benefit.
He's
of the
walking
doubt.
around with Capri Sun. He better have one of his kids with him sharing a Capri Sun, or else people are gonna be like, "What, a Capri Sun?
What is
dude?"
wrong with that guy? I can get away with a lot of things by just saying it's an Australian thing, even if
That's
that's
true.
completely bogus. If I mispronounce a word or whatever, it's like I got a lot of cover, but
That's funny, I don't want to even get to it right this second, but I can't wait to hear why you said, "Oh, that makes sense that I'm in this episode." Because here's the deal:
It's a quick answer. You thought manly, and for some reason you equated it with me, and so I'm just.
Okay, so you are affirming, because that is true. When I was thinking about you three guys, I don't see myself in the stereotypical manly sense, but I think of you, I'm like, you're a big time hunter. That's a very manly thing. I know what you are able to do with your hands. I mean, you could basically, we were talking about this the other day, you could basically build a house without maybe some of the advanced electrical stuff. That's very manly. I cannot even think of the first thoughts of what I would even do to build a house. And then T, look at him. He's got a deep voice. He's just a bigger dude. He's just kind of manly from just an eye, test.
So he's the manly eye candy. I see.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think of myself as manly, but I did write down a bunch of stuff, and that I want to present to you guys, because I kind of put myself through a thought experiment of, when do I feel manly? Like, when do I feel? And so I'll get to that here in a second. But do you guys, since we're in a summer series, do y'all like the summer? Is summer like, oh, I love this. This is, the feelings in the air. Do you like the summer too?
No.
No.
Like, I liked the summer as a kid, but now summer's expensive.
Yeah.
Summer's busy.
Yeah.
Like,
Vacations, expensive extracurricular camps?
It's the middle of travel ball. It's camps. It's summer camp. It's missions trips. It's getting ready for the next school year.
You hate the heat?
I don't like the heat.
I hate the heat.
You know, I don't like the beach. I got bills, so I got to continue to work. I just can't, hang out at the house, play video games, and drink Kool-Aid like I used to. So that's what the summer consisted of when I was younger, going outside, playing basketball, coming inside when it got too hot, playing Nintendo, drinking Kool-Aid, repeat. It was amazing.
Yeah. Dude, the epitome of summer vacation, if I could think of the pinnacle of my childhood, was Duck Hunt, Mario Brothers, and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for a whole summer. It was when it first, I was just, I can connect with that little kid and get happy. Yeah. I can just have a smile on my face. All right, so you don't like the summers, don't like the heat, correct?
Don't like the heat, no.
Yeah, like I seriously, if I'm out in the heat for too long, these hot summer days in Charleston, I get a headache and I'm done for the rest of the day. Like I like going out for jogs early in the morning or later at night. But this heat business I do not like. But I will say that summers do feel a little like everybody's just a little more relaxed. I don't know if that's in my head or what, but in the South, it just seems like everybody's a little more chill. What about you? You like the summers?
Yeah, I love summer.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family where my parents both didn't really care for the sun, the beach, the water. And when I became an adult, I discovered, man, I've been missing out. So I love all those things. So my favorite vacations are get me somewhere hot. I want to make my ideal vacation involves like the only decision I make every day being, are we going to the beach or the pool? That's it.
Yeah.
So, I love the summer. I mean, we were living in New York City. And so I'm like, anytime I'm like, oh, it's so hot, I'm like, yeah, but I'm not shoveling snow in the winter.
Right.
So I'm like, I am determined to never complain about summer here because it's just a different perspective.
What kind of, and I don't want to assume, I know Australia is a huge country, it's a continent also, but so I don't want to assume that all the weather's the same where you grew up when you think back on summers. Compared to Charleston.
Yeah, it's actually quite similar. It's actually quite similar.
The humidity?
Mild winter, hot summers, but not as humid. Humid, but not as humid.
And is that for most of Australia? I mean, it is.
No, it really varies.
It really does vary.
Yeah, you got tropical places, you got places where it'll snow. I mean, it is really more or less the landmass of America, continental U.S., with the population of greater L.A.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of everything.
Gotcha. What about you? You like the summer?
I love the summer, man. Our, we have 2 kids out of the house now, but we've just gone through the elementary schooling years with 7 kids. And so the morning is such a hustle and life is so structured and routine with projects and sports and kids all over the place that it's what we chose and love. But man, as summer is 2 months out, it's like you're thinking like, man, I cannot wait for summer, which is really for us kind of a break in the structure that school and sports provides with so many kids. And so, but it's the perfect amount of time. I don't love the heat, but I don't love the cold either. So I like that it's only about 2 months and usually by about 2 weeks before school starts back, I'm like, gosh, could school start now? And so I'm longing for it to end when summer gets here, and I'm longing for it to start once we get through it. But I love the vacations and rest and kids sleeping in till lunch and just a good break from the normal structure.
Yeah, y'all used to play war when y'all were kids, like not cowboys and Indians, but go out and play war. Did y'all ever have play guns and that kind of thing?
Like what, Nerf guns?
No, more like hey, we're pretending to be in battle.
Dude, we would take Christmas wrapping paper tubes, duct tape handles to them, and shoot fireworks at each other.
Oh, wow. So y'all did? Okay.
Legit war.
Gotcha.
So you can tell the kids who grew up with health insurance. That would have been a different kind of parade if I
speed dial.
He's thinking health insurance. I'm thinking redneck.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a little crazy.
Yeah, that's funny when I think about your I remember videos of your dad, I think, with tributes, maybe that you posted on social media and stuff. And I was like, oh, Josh came from like redneck, boy.
Yeah,
like, your dad had a country accent, and
he was a Marine, so he was pretty hardcore too. But
like, I'd be restricted for the rest of the summer if I pointed a bottle rocket at a tree when I was a kid.
Mainly because we got off the bus at 2:30, and my parents would get home at 6. And so, I mean, we had and that was the whole neighborhood. So all my friends, I mean, I had a go-kart that we would treat like a Honda Civic and get a gas tank on the back and 2 other buddies, and we would leave the neighborhood like it's a car and go to Burger King. And, so we had a lot of autonomy to explore.
You missed a lot of beatings growing up, didn't you? I did. Oh, Lord Jesus.
We had a guy that he was always a little bit older than us. I think he's about 4 years older than me. And when we would play war, he would always dance around the line of, Kenny, chill out, man. Like, this is not real war. Like, I know you're bigger than me and I'm a prisoner of war right now and you're a prisoner of war camp, but this is not real life, man. Oh, man. Did you guys ever feel like in the summers in your childhood movies, and I'm curious with Australian culture, like, it seems as if movies were a much bigger deal back in the day, almost like how Saturday morning cartoons were. Yeah. Like, now you wake up, Saturday morning cartoons, it doesn't exist. Not how we enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Seems like the same way with summer releases. Remember summers? It was like the biggest releases. One after the other, and now you don't really hear of it. I mean, there's no must-see movies right now, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I went to the movies some, but I remember more the TV rhythm programming, like you're saying, on Saturday mornings, of like TGIF on Fridays and DuckTales after school, and like there were some regular TV rhythms, but
Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Like, when that came out over the summer, it was amazing. Or Gremlins. I think Gremlins came out over the summer too.
That's good. He is lighting up right now. Look at him. Look at his face. There's glee coming out right now.
Like, I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, man, I do remember going to the movies because they had the dollar movie.
The dollar movie, bro. Yes.
You could go in and watch a movie, and it was only over the summer.
Oh my gosh, the dollar theater.
The dollar movies were, that was where it was at.
I mean, there would be, probably in 1 month, we went and saw Dumb and Dumber probably 15 times. We would just sit because we were hanging out watching it. It's almost like sitting in a living room because you just paid $2 for a movie.
Were there dollar movies in Australia?
No, and what's interesting is, especially back then, it's changed a bit now, but when I was a kid, movies released a lot later in Australia. I mean, maybe 6 to 9 months later of what they released in the U.S., and of course, our summer is the opposite. Our summer is Christmas time.
Oh.
So that's a whole different vibe because you go to the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, New Year's Eve is like fireworks, fire pit, that kind of thing down by Sydney Harbour.
See, that probably doesn't bother you because you were from Australia, but I would hate that because it drives me crazy when it's kind of mild here in Charleston. I want it to be cold.
Andy cried at first Christmas there because it didn't feel like Christmas for a whole lot of reasons, but it's just so weird. It's like, well, let's go jump in the pool. I mean, we loved it, but we had to spray paint snow on the windows because that was we really were only dreaming about a white Christmas. It was absolutely not going to happen. It's like over 100 degrees out. So
wow.
Yeah. All right, so I've got to bring this up to you guys. It was 1993 so I'm thinking of some of the big movies. Like, I think Independence Day was maybe one of the most fascinating in-theater experiences because I'm pretty sure at the time that was the first time a movie was made that really connected with me in this is real life and aliens are here. Like, and it made it feel like this is real life, the news and the president and all that. I mean, it's just amazing. But I remember going to see Jurassic Park with my parents in '93, and it was unbelievable. It was just such a good movie. The graphics at the time were just unmatchable. It was great. Then they made a couple of follow-ups, and they were both, especially the first follow-up wasn't that great again. So 2015 Jurassic World comes into the picture. They're trying to reboot it, and it was decent. Y'all, I just rewatched Jurassic World, so that's the 2015 release, and it seriously was not that great. But I'm like, I want to get through this. I want to see these movies because I just want to see because I'm interested in the storyline. So Fallen Kingdom came out in 2018. I'm in the middle of watching it. It's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. And I've got one more to go. And then I saw on TV, they're rebooting the whole thing. It's called the Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm like,
they're milking that thing. That's what they're doing. They're milking it.
Oh my gosh. How far did y'all go? Did y'all watch did y'all watch any of the Jurassic World?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Did you like them?
Well, I mean, at the time, I did.
I thought the first one was
I
pretty
went back
good.
to see the first one several years ago. Was on some TNT or some shows were going through channels.
Yeah.
And I remember, to your point, thinking the graphics, the scale, like, this is unmatched, amazing. I've never seen anything like this. But you watch it now, and it's like pretty B-team in terms of where we are these days. So it's just wild. Yeah, you don't feel that as much as time passes, but you go back and watch something like the first Jurassic Park, and it's like, oof.
Right.
I thought this was the jam when it came out. So.
Right. And what makes it neat, though, is you recognize just how good of a storyline it is, because I think sometimes you go and revisit movies like that, and the lack of special effects almost like takes away from the movie, where it's like, I can't even watch this. Whereas with that movie, I bet you would agree the storyline is strong enough to where it's just like you're locked in.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. Did you like the Jurassic dinosaur? I got to tell y'all something that you'll get a kick out of, because it's happened a couple of times with Tamilix, but I don't know if you met Robbie Madison. I know you for sure know Robbie. You know Robbie. So I was talking to Robbie, and I made some sort of Goodwill Hunting joke, and I was like, ha 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 ha, it's not your fault. And he's just looking at me like, well, what are you talking about? I was like, Goodwill Hunting. He's like, Joey. He's like, I'm black. I've never seen Goodwill Hunting. and that's happened to me a few times with you, just that assumption. So that's why I asked specifically, have you watched Jurassic Park movies, and does that have anything to do with black and white? And then I have a follow-up question about a movie that I think color does not matter. There's a genre of movie that color does not matter. All right, go ahead.
I watched Jurassic Park 1. Because that's the one when your boy gets ate off the toilet, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I do remember that.
That guy was black?
No,
Oh,
no. His little...
that just stands out in your mind.
That stands out in my mind. I remember seeing the dude get ate off the toilet being like, you're an idiot. But nothing about that.
And that was, remember Newman from Seinfeld?
Yeah.
Was in that movie. Remember that?
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen it going through channels, and I've watched bits and pieces while I'm trying to find something better. But just to sit there and watch it beginning to end.
Yeah. Yeah. Just personal taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love dinosaurs. It's just the plot has to do something for me. And the fact that you're trying to recreate, natural killers and then be surprised when they start killing.
Yeah.
Like, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect this Tyrannosaurus to do other than eat people? Like, it was made to eat people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whatever.
So here's something that occurred to me is, I think a genre of movie, and again, I'm thinking more guys. So I'm thinking my friends, black friends, white friends. We'll get into the stereotypical masculine friends and all of that. But superhero movies doesn't seem to be one demographic that gravitate towards it. I'm not really big into superhero movies, and I know tons of guys of all ethnic backgrounds that could take it or leave it, and same, black and white, who love superhero movies. I got to know, do y'all like superhero movies? What kind of movies do y'all gravitate toward?
my kids all like superhero movies, and so I'll usually, as a like bid for connection, not all of them. Some of them I just think are lame, but like the major ones, I'll take them to see or sit down and watch with them at the house. But the ones that I typically like are like high action, crime, violent, The Town, or anything that's like Taken.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Good guys beating the bad guys.
The Gladiator. Yeah.
Yeah.
So every Liam Neeson movie.
Every Liam Neeson movie. Definitely. Gerald, what's his name?
Yep.
Gerard. Gerard Butler.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Plane? Plane? You got to watch it.
I just had a guy tell me about it, and I looked up the trailer yesterday. A Working Man. Y'all heard of that movie? It just came out. Oh, bro. I'm dying to see that.
Same genre. What's the guy, the British guy that's in The Beehive?
Yes, I saw that one.
Yeah.
The Beekeeper.
Beekeeper, that's the one.
Oh, bro, The Beekeeper.
That was a good movie.
That's my kind of movie. An injustice. Some guy that's willing to be hardcore to save, rescue, offend the person that was taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So
Would
good.
you say Australian movie culture could Josh and I and Tamilix talk American movies?
Oh, yeah.
For the most part, you wouldn't skip a beat. Like, there's no disconnect.
No, totally. So Australia's interesting because it's kind of a mix.
Yeah.
You've got British roots. And so especially going back generations, it was very much like kind of a mix of the British and primarily like Asia influences.
Yeah.
But then really the last couple of generations, the US, everything, sports, music, movies, just culture in general. Yeah, Australians are really clued into that. It's still a little eclectic because you feel that, like, you know what I mean? You have, growing up in school, racial diversity for us was mostly kids from all across Asia. But and a lot of kids from, like, Polynesian kids from the different islands, Tonga, Fiji. And so, but those cultures really gel, I think, with a lot of what's happening in American culture. So it just comes out feeling a little different. But
Is it mostly rugby and soccer? Do they have American football or no?
they don't really have, I'm sure there is some. And again, it's changed a lot. I just turned 50 last year, so I'm talking, looking back a ways. But when I was a kid, it was still a lot of the traditional sports. Like I grew up, tennis, cricket, rugby, that kind of stuff, soccer. But then, basketball was really rising. Baseball's really risen as well. So, and again, it's kind of like a real eclectic little mix of cultures.
Yeah. All right, I want to get into outdoorsy stuff. Would you consider yourself an outdoorsy guy?
No. I feel like there's the two categories are like outdoorsmen or white tennis shoes.
Yeah.
And so I tend to not enjoy going places you can't wear white tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Not because you can't wear them there, but just because you wouldn't,
Yeah.
So I'd go like camping, or I go hiking, or I'll do those things when Katie really wants to.
Yeah.
If we're on a vacation or something, but I don't think like my default isn't like, man, I just can't wait to.
Right.
I hiked Yosemite with a buddy for his 40th birthday. It's just like, and I've loved some of those experiences, but I don't long for nature,
Yeah.
in any sense. So
Yeah. I think for me, what it boils down to as a 47-year-old is I can really take in the camping experience if I have a buddy, because I don't have a wife who likes this kind of thing, but if I have a buddy who really loves all that stuff and it's just like, oh man, you just chill, man, I got all this, I'll cook it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I like the experience, but you usually have to take off work to do that, and so I don't want to work so hard to rest.
yeah.
Right.
That's just too much work to. All right, how about you? Like outdoorsy stuff?
First of all, let me start my statement by saying going camping is choosing to be homeless. Like you were choosing.
You're being
You have a
ungrateful.
home, man. Go to your home.
Like that in itself just sounds dumb to me. No, I'm not going outside for no reason unless I absolutely have to.
What about a cabin? A nice cabin out in the woods. Same? Are you talking tent right now?
Yeah, like I've gone to the mountains because my wife likes to go and just get away from people.
Yeah.
And we had some friends who had like a house up there and we just went and chilled. But nah, you missing me. I ain't hanging out with Smokey and Boo Boo the Bear. I ain't gonna be homeless for fun. I ain't trying to go out there and find my own food.
Ain't gonna be almost for fun.
I'm just saying, like, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I feel
the same way that you said about because when I think about the times that I've gone, it's been with buddies who know the lay of the land. Like, I wouldn't think when it's time to go to bed, let's tie up all our food and
Right. String up in a tree there would be bears.
There would be major things I would
You see how dumb that sound? Like, just say that out loud to yourself. And
we had a camp out. We had a fatherhood. I think it was a fatherhood camp out here at the church. So a bunch of dudes like me that don't really know what they're doing, that left the food in his car, had a bear get in his new like Escalade or whatever it was and maul up the interior. I mean, it was a big.
Why?
That would be me. And so
it is funny to hear his perspective of basically you're choosing to leave your house where bears can't get your food. You're going out where they can, and you're like, well, the least we can do is put it up in a tree in a bag so the bear can't get it.
When we did that hike Yosemite thing, guys like Nate Davis, Jesse Ginther, Scott Crowell, they would, I forget what they called it. You could probably know, Paul, but like, I know my little tent isn't going to protect me, but they liked to just lay their sleeping bag down on a tarp and sleep under the stars. I'm like, so any animal could just come up and like sniff your cheek? I'm like, nah, bro, I need...
Right.
There's no peace in me sleeping like that. Like, I'd be stressed out.
Right. All right. I want to get into your hunting stuff and any background in hunting. I'll say for me, I've never fired at an animal, not for any sort of belief purposes. I just never got into it. I have on my mom's side a bunch of guys that love to hunt. So I have experiences as a kid, like I've seen a deer get shot. I have real early childhood memories of going coon hunting with my uncles, which was really neat because it's in the middle of the night and you send your dogs out in the woods and they track down a coon and they go crazy when they find one. You look up in the trees with the flashlight. So, it left an imprint on me as a kid, but not, as an adult, have not really hunted at all. And you didn't grow up hunting either. You guys, did y'all do any hunting?
I could see me being like Paul. I would like to. I never did it.
Yeah.
But I could see it being I've shot like clay pigeons and stuff. I think I've got a pretty good shot, but I've just Dad never owned a gun of any kind. I didn't have friends that went hunting growing up, so it was just never something that I had any opportunity to do.
Yeah, how'd you grow up?
No, neither did I. My grandfather had a couple shotguns, and that was really because they had some rural land, and that was just more for snakes. Everything tries to kill you in Australia, so snakes and spiders and even the jellyfish trying to kill you. So they had a couple shotguns, but never hunting. I didn't have any exposure to that. In fact, I'd really never shot guns, and I got an invite from Pastor Greg to go to a spot in Montana called Refuge with a group of ARC pastors in 2018. We're still pastoring in New York City. I nearly didn't go because I was like, I looked at the activities. I was like, I mean, how much more useless hobbies can I have than fly fishing? I live in Brooklyn. Like, nobody, we're not eating anything. We fish out of the East River or the Hudson. So nope. But I went because Greg invited me.
Yeah.
And so one day they like load us up in pickup trucks, and I've got, some of the listeners will know Ray Farrell. I got Ray Farrell in the back of a pickup truck with me, handing me clips, and he's like, "You ever shot guns before?" I said, "No." And he's like, I'm like blowing away prairie dogs, which is like a little gopher, but in my mind, I mean, I'm still kind of Australian, to be honest. Yeah. I literally imagined these like household dogs that just had the misfortune of wandering the prairie, and so I didn't realize this is like a pest. They dig holes and all the horses break their legs, which is why the farmers get rid of them. So anyway, we're blowing these away. End of the day, Ray says to me, "You lied to me." I'm like, "Wait, what?" He says, you lied to me. You said you never shot guns before. I was like, I promise I haven't. And he said, well, then you should keep doing it. And I was just like, somehow it got in my head.
Yeah.
It's like, I might have a little bit of a knack for this. And nobody had ever told me that. I hadn't had the opportunity. I mean, you can't call that hunting. I mean, that's just like pest control.
Yeah.
But that trip, I mean, it's a different, bigger story. I won't get into it. But it really literally changed my life. I mean, within 5 minutes of me getting home, Andy's bawling.
Well, that's crazy. That was only 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
That's right. And I'd never hunted before. And her immediate response when I got home was, I was like, why are you crying? And she says, I got my husband back. So I haven't seen you smile or laugh like this in the longest time.
So there was some deep soul shifting.
Big time.
Yeah.
And so I realized I needed to have more fun. So I got back into snowboarding and I said, I'm going to learn how to hunt, which is like, can you think of a less practical hobby when you live in the New York City limits and you can't even own a gun? But I'm like, I'm going to learn how to hunt. And I just started to figure it out. But it's like a lot of guys that I even take on retreats these days, that's their thing. It's like, man, I'd love to know how, but it's like the bar's so high. Where would I find the gear? How do I do it safe? And that's part of my passion for doing these retreats is giving guys an opportunity just to get their feet wet, just to try it in a safe environment, encouraging environment, get a win. And a lot of times guys are like, man, where's this been all my life? That's how it was for me. Like a few years back, we did like a counseling retreat. Andy and I did. We got away just for, got therapy. It was so awesome. I'm a big believer in everybody getting help, right? Especially when your life is pouring into other people. You got to make sure somebody's pouring into you, right? So, but one of the exercises, she says, hey, we're going to get into some like healing and some trauma stuff. And she's like, I need you to think about like a happy place where, if things get heavy, I want you to imagine that. You need to know what does it sound like? How does it smell? How do you feel when you're there? Conjure up those emotions and we'll just pull out for a minute. Well, immediately I went to my tree stand that we had up in Pennsylvania, which had become like just in a couple of years since that moment, like just a place of peace for me. To slow down, to like not be on my phone, to like listen to the woods, and so that's all that's new for me. Andy, as you mentioned before, she's written a bunch of books. She keeps threatening that her next book's going to be called The 7 Men I Married. They're all me because I've like changed so many times over the years. She's like, who are you even? Like I was like a lover of the great indoors. It's like, what in the world? People who haven't caught up with me for years are like, wait, what? I saw you on Instagram standing over a red stag. Like, what in the world happened to you? I was like, I don't know, man. It's just got a hold of me.
All right, no. You got to stop. What's a red stag? I don't even know what that is.
It's a type of deer. It's like really traditionally from Europe.
It's like the prized dinosaur of deer.
Okay.
Yeah, this thing's
like
pretty.
Montana sort of stuff, or
oh no, these are monsters. I mean, it's like
where do you have to go to shoot them?
Well, originally from Europe, but then wherever the Europeans went, they took them with them because they like to hunt things. So I went and hunted red stag in New Zealand for my 50th birthday, celebrated a couple of months ago. And to put it in perspective, if you've never seen one, I mean, the antlers on this thing are bigger than an elk. So it's just like a monster.
Wow.
So, and I would never have imagined, I mean, if you took me back to my 40th, celebrating in New York City with a Great Gatsby style thing with like a bow tie on, hey, for your 50th, you're going to go kill an animal in New Zealand? I'd be like, wait, what? But all that transformation happened in those 10 years.
Wow.
That's wild.
Wow. What are some other things?
Tamilix, how old are you now?
44.
Tamilix's 50th birthday. I can see you out camping right now. There's going to be a transformation.
Hey, in a luxurious camper. Hey, in a luxurious camper.
Yeah, see, now I will say on that whole thing of, I do love the outdoors. I love the mountains. I like to get out there. But for me, I enjoy it because I feel like I connect with God there. It feels like a thin place.
Yeah.
I like pushing myself. That's one of the things, like you were asking before, like, when do you feel manly? Like, we did a hunt without any guide or anything a few years ago in Montana, and we hiked so hard every day. And for me, it just felt like, man, I didn't think I could do that. Like, it was more like a pushing myself physically. But at night, we went back, stayed in our Airbnb that had a hot tub and a grill. And so that, there was like, it's like, I want a good night's sleep. That's why I don't necessarily love camping, is because I don't wake up like tired. Yeah. So that's, man, I'll probably get there. Maybe for my 60th, we'll go camping. But, I'm kind of easing into this thing. I'm like, I like a little bougie, get in the woods, then a little bougie.
Anytime we have gone camping, we've always brought a Keurig.
Yeah.
So I need a power source somewhere.
Yeah.
See?
I want
you just
quick
lost
coffee.
the ability to call it camping. Yeah.
The last place we went, it was like a place where you rent like a the land is staked out. So we were at site 26 or whatever, and we had to pick one near the community bathroom just because we knew there would be a power source there. So we're waking up in the morning, walking to the bathroom with our Keurig.
There's so many layers to that story.
I mean, I feel like you're just making the point for me.
I get it, dude. I get it.
Have you ever hunted anything that was kind of dangerous to be hunting?
Have you ever hunted a kangaroo?
No, but I want to. It's definitely. I have a bucket list, you guys.
Can you do that? Hunt a kangaroo?
Yeah, they're kind of actually they're
kind of pests.
It's really the deer
in
of Australia. Yeah,
right?
they actually the government cull them when the numbers get too high because there's not enough food for them. So
That would be awesome.
So you have a list of things you want to hunt? Mm-hmm. Let's hear them.
Well, you don't want to hear all of them because it's 50. But I've taken 17 off the list so far. So yeah, I've hunted. I've actually had something hunt me as well without me realizing it at the time. That same hunt in Montana.
Hey, will you send me your list and I'll post it on our little podcast Facebook page so people can see this list. But give us some of your top ones.
So that Montana hunt, I was after a bull elk, like a male elk, and it started snowing, and I followed him all the way up this mountain. I never did manage to find him, but as I came back down, I could see inside my footprints the footprints of a mountain lion that had followed me up the mountain, and I never even knew he was there.
Whoa!
So that was hectic.
So that's like really dangerous.
Yeah, very much. And
he said hectic.
Were you by yourself?
I was by myself. Well, I had another friend on the mountain in a different area, but I'm not sure I would have been able to get the phone call off in time. Mountain lion's one of those things. They didn't give you like a warning shot. They're just on you. It's all over. So.
He's just going to be frustrated this whole conversation. Yeah, he's wondering why you're even out there in the first place.
Well, I took my son. I've taken my son Jesse to Africa to hunt a few times. Our church in New York planted a church in Southern Africa, and so when I used to go there twice a year. I go once a year now. But once I got into hunting, I was like, it's like a hunter's paradise down there. So there's a place that I go and I lead pastors' retreats at a hunting lodge. And what's cool is there's a lot of people that aren't into hunting, and most of the people there are African pastors. So they get to choose. They can do recreations. They go do elephant encounters, like safaris, take photos of the animals. But if you want to shoot at the animals, you go with a different group. And I've been out there with my son, Jesse. He did like a 40-day internship there, learning to be a hunter guide last summer.
Wow.
But we've been into it in the long grass and like popped up a herd of Cape buffalo.
Yeah.
And that'll get your heart racing. When you hear like the ground, like you feel the vibration of a herd of buffalo running away. I mean, that
stuff in the
you
movies,
feel very alive. I'll say that. So
dang.
Buffalo kill people for fun.
Yeah, they do. That's why they call him the Black Death in Africa. Yeah.
I was about to tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
so
sir.
you going out hanging out with Black Death by choice?
By choice. Yeah.
Are you listening to what you saying out loud?
I'm telling you.
I love it. I do feel like, for not being the hunter outdoorsman type, I do feel like there's a return to not that you have to do this to be a man, but like biblical manhood of like Adam-esque, that I've been given dominion over this, and there was no option not to hunt and eat, and so part of it in me feels like this. Even thinking about you hunting, it's like, could there be anything more different than the hustle and bustle of life in the city,
right? And
sitting in a stand.
And that's it for me. I mean, I think, and again, I get there'll be lots of listeners who like either not into hunting or really hate that people hunt, and I respect that. But for me, it's like it's layered. It's like I like pushing myself. I think that's part of like being a man. I think I like one of the things that's good for my personality type. It's good for me to do things I'm not good at and not just stay in my comfort zone. So it kind of pushes me in that way to learn new things. Yeah. There is something, I don't offend anybody, but there's something really visceral about, respectfully, ethically taking the life of an animal and putting food, because like we got 2 freezers full of meat. Like for me, it's not just about the thrill of the kill. I mean, for me, it's like all about treating the animal humanely, you know what you're putting in your body. Right, exactly. And I, in fact, a little while ago, my wife made, we usually have Taco Tuesday a lot of times, and she made the tacos, and the kids are like, what's wrong with the meat? And Andy's like, oh, guys, I had to use beef. They're so used to eating like venison and meat, elk, that we've harvested, that they weren't even used to the taste of beef. And I mean, I like that. It's not for everybody.
Right.
But for me, there has been something about like, I wouldn't have ever thought I could do this. I wouldn't have ever thought I could hike a mountain or, they call it process, basically cut up an elk in the middle of the friggin' nowhere. But it's like, I learned that. I did that. And for me, it feels like an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. I don't feel like I have dominion over the earth when I go to the grocery store to buy some ground beef.
Listen, I've been on the other side of this. I took a missions team from our church in New York to the church plant we did in a little country used to be called Swaziland, Eswatini, right out of Joburg, about 4 hours. And we took a missions trip, and they had a care point where they were feeding the children, and because they had a team visiting, they were going to give them some protein. So the go-go, the grandma, grabs a chicken by the neck, and she holds it out to my team with all their nice white sneakers on. And she's holding the chicken, and looking for somebody who wants the honor of killing the chicken. And all of my New York team were all like, everybody's like looking at each other like, what do we do? And so the go-go pulls me aside, and she's like, what's wrong? And I was like, well, nobody's killed a chicken before. And so she says, and I walk right into this, you guys, I was so embarrassed. She's like, well, how do you kill your chickens in New York? And I said, someone else does it for us. I was so mortified. I was like, oh my gosh, we are so disconnected from the process of our food.
I don't even pull the feathers.
Reality sets in.
Right? Someone else does it for us. I'm so humiliated right now.
That's great. All right. So I want to get into masculinity, and I always have a hard time saying femininity. Is that how you say femininity?
No, I think you did that right.
All right. Appreciate it. And what's so interesting is I came up with a list of things that when I have done or things I have thought which have made me feel masculine. And then when I looked over my list, I realized not one of them had to do with me being a male. So I'll say that I have no problem with this. So this is just, and for our listeners, just a reminder, this podcast is for outward processing. So I'm kind of throwing some thoughts out there, but I have no problem with stereotypical uses of phrases like, oh, he's a man's man, or look how ladylike she is. Like, we just know what these phrases means. That's what words are supposed to do. So when I think manly man, I think maybe a hunter, or I think of my grandfather who was a plumber and, drove a truck and had big muscles and those sort of things. I think where we get into some problems is when we have it so boxed in and so stereotyped that we could make someone feel like they're not man or woman enough because they don't fit in those stereotypes. But anyway, here's some things that I have done or thought about that have made me feel, and that's the word that comes to mind is manly. But then I thought maybe it is me feeling strong, but seeing clearly that my kids respect me and they feel perfectly, and I use the word perfectly loosely because I'm not perfect, but feel perfectly secure in my love. And some of these are silly. I'm putting myself out there, but if I avoid a traffic accident because of really good maneuvering, like I'm like, man, I feel really, really tough. And, my kids are like, whoa, Dad.
Dale Jr.
Opening something that my sons or my wife can't open, I feel like, heck yeah. Doing something that my family is afraid to do, like if there's a stray dog in our backyard. That was a situation that happened in the last couple of years. I was probably stupid of going out there, but I felt brave because I was like, I'm gonna get this dog out of here. Offering good advice, like when I can tell that it's well received, really by anybody, I kind of feel good about myself. So maybe these are just feeling good about myself, but that's what I thought of when I thought of feeling like a man. And like I said, none of them have anything to do with gender, because I could see a woman saying all of these things. But anyway, I'm just kind of pitching some things, throwing these things out here. What do you guys think about when y'all think about being masculine or being feminine? And we'll get into nature and nurture and culture and all that stuff, but just kind of your initial thoughts on this discussion in general.
I would see me in your list in terms of times that I feel masculine. I think there's something about I like getting to the end of the day and feeling like I've been wrung out. Like there's something that feels masculine to me about working hard in all areas. So like working hard intellectually, spiritually, here at work, physically at home, projects around the house, a Friday or Saturday off. This past weekend, our yard's like all weeds. So I rented a sod cutter and had never done that, but it's probably 3,000 pounds of rolled sod to load up and haul off, and just killed me. It was such a hard, long process, but finished it just feeling like, so I think those kind of moments. But then also yesterday, Adele, our 4-year-old, had my phone and she asked if she could play a game, but she actually turned the video on and she was recording herself with the phone in her lap. And I didn't realize she was doing it. And she was talking and she said, Daddy, I feel like you treat me like a queen. And it was one of the most epic, like of all moments for her to have the camera on. It was like, yes,
That's awesome. Save that one.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I think there's some like, it would probably be categorized more as a like sweet daddy moment, but there's moments where makes me feel masculine of like establishing the standard of love in our home, in her heart. That's
interesting.
Something special. So
yeah.
But I do think we live in days where the traditional roles and models, there's still people that embody that, but I would say my parents' generation, it was very black and white.
Yeah.
And I think today it's non-existent in the sense of like, Katie and I have been in seasons where now it's like, man, I carry a lot more responsibility at home doing the work of the home, whether it's dishes or laundry or cleaning or whatever it is. And so anyway, I just, for my friends that I see now, I don't see the clear lanes that my parents lived in.
Yeah, that's so true. Because I'll throw this out there that when it comes to fixing things, I can, and I've done it a few times. I'd probably give examples and then really embarrass myself, but I've done the YouTube route and I've fixed a couple things I was super proud of, but that's primarily going to fall on Priscilla because she's better at that stuff than me. And I would say probably in my parents' generation, that'd be super embarrassing for me to say, whereas I'm not embarrassed. That's just how it is. She's better at that kind of stuff than me. What about you guys? Masculine, feminine, what do y'all think about when it comes to?
Well, I mean, I would say lead, protect, provide, discipline. In the season that I'm currently in, the discipline is the biggest part. Like in the beginning, it was teaching Malia right from wrong so that she would grow up and, not be a jerk. But now it's teaching her what a godly husband looks like, what a godly father looks like, what it looks like to have work ethic. Like, nobody in my house wakes up before me. Nobody in my house goes to bed after me. Everybody in my house knows that if something has to get done, it's going to get done. And like that is so important because when I look back at my own life, or when I look at other kids who grew up without a dad, like not having that discipline, not having that work ethic, it's a big deal. Like when I was coaching football at North Charleston, there was a kid named Ricky Simmons, product of a single mom, one of the greatest athletes you'll ever see. And when Sam, who was also coaching football, said, hey, what do you want to do when you graduate high school? He's like, sit back and collect a check like my mom. And it crushed us. But he had never had a man in his life that set an example of, hey, we're getting up. We're going to make it happen. We're going to provide. We're not going to be reliant on others. Now, granted, he's figured it out now through a bunch of guys in the community coming alongside of him and being like, nah, like, you're better than this. Like, this is not your story. You can change it if you want to. And he went off to school and he's doing whatever he's doing now. But that's the manly part that I'm harboring on the most. Like, ain't nobody questioning who's the leader of my house. Ain't nobody questioning who's the protector of my house. Ain't nobody questioning who's the provider for my house, even though my wife makes more money than me. Because they know that if we come up short, it is on daddy to figure out where that money is coming from.
Dude, I love one thing that you said that was such a good reminder for me as a parent, because I can be overly critical of myself. I'm getting better at it, but just how much volume of importance just the example is. Like you said, I get up and before everybody, stay up after everybody, and it was because, like, just because. It's an example. Like that's huge. Because I get caught up into, and I got to do the best parenting and give the best advice and all of that. And I know those things are important, but I will sometimes overlook the fact that just how I'm living in front of them is a big deal.
That's right. Yeah, I had a conversation on our porch in the last week with, so we got 3 sons, 1 daughter. My daughter's 16. She's a sweetheart. And we were just talking, about life and relationships, friendships, and she just made this like almost throwaway comment for her. It's like, well, Dad, what I'm really looking for in a husband one day is like what I've learned from you, like who you are. And I'm like, if that's not like one of the best moments of like being a dad for me, is like, wow, in her mind, like I've set the bar. And it's like in all the little things, like when I'm listening to you guys, like maybe another way I could spin how I think about this whole, like, what is masculinity and where do we get it wrong? I think so. When I came to faith in a different kind of church environment. And anytime you did a men's conference, I'll give this example. It was all about external attributes, was what the creative team would go to, right? So somebody's going to ride in on a Harley, somebody's going to punch through something. So, you know what I mean? It's like all doing manly stuff. And I never really resonated with any of that. It's like, I don't know, like I'm not really interested in abseiling out of the ceiling or all the stuff that they were into. So you've kind of felt like, oh, I didn't really get that. I didn't want to do like a public arm wrestling competition, so I don't know where I fit.
Right.
So I would say, like, I think sometimes where we miss it is we look at the external, but to me, like, I really, resonate with what T was sharing, which is, to me, like the epitome of a man is more about the internal. It can express in the external, but if those things don't line up, the internal is what matters. To me, it's like you shared about leadership. For me, like, I think a part of it, like when I think about, a husband and a wife, it's like we're called to love her as Christ loved the church. So part of being like a man is being willing to love selflessly, sacrificially, and it's in 1,000 little things. Like, probably, my daughter, in some ways it's like opening the car door for her mom and dating her mom every week and now dating her every month and taking her out and talking about life. And it's just those, to me, it's those sorts of like internal qualities of being a gentleman and being honorable and your yes being yes and being hardworking, but not to a fault, to where you're, one of the things that, we spoke at one of those Marriage Mondays just recently at Seacoast, and one of the things I was kind of talking about, like we each had to share something we've overcome, and like mine was like learning to be present. Because, like, I grew up in both a household and in a faith environment where there was a huge emphasis on working, but it wasn't always like balanced in a way so that even when you were home, you were kind of absent. And so that's been a thing for me. So I want to be present to my kids, present to the conversations, present to the moments.
Yeah.
One of the interesting, and it kind of ties with that, like Abigail she's getting married this May, and a couple years ago she was just like, "Dad, I'm looking for you." Kind of same thing, like copy paste.
That's
and
amazing.
At the time, I was doing some kind of home project. We've moved like 13 times and have lived in construction zones, that kind of deal. And so I was cutting sheetrock, running a line for a light or something like that. And she was like, "If my husband can't install the light fixture when we need it, he's not the right one." And I was like, "Well, Ab, there's two kind of guys. There's one guy that has to learn how to install the light fixture because he can't hire somebody to do it. And the other guy makes enough money to pay someone to install his light fixture. And so I'm doing it out of necessity. You could also look for a guy who could pay someone to do it. I would think highly of him, you know."
Don't rule him out.
Yeah, so that's the man she found. And so, but I do think our example speaks so much louder than we think. But it's where the conversation. It's like, man, if you've got example void of intimacy, there's a lot of good and bad behaviors they might pick up. But if you can model what you would be proud of for the most part, but have the relationship to be able to help them process and see, you know, where you may have fallen short or reinforce what's right.
Yeah.
It's a big win.
Yeah. Paul, I love what you said as far as I know that there's discussions and questioning as far as people's perspective on male headship, and I can understand both perspectives, especially given when I think a lot of these verses has been used in probably, you could use the word abusive situations, you know, as far as how wives have been treated throughout history. But I've never met a couple where the husband saw the leadership as servanthood to where the wife had any complaints. And I say that obviously there's no husband or wife that's perfect, and I'm sure there's issues in any marriage, but where a husband truly sees, where a husband and wife read those passages of male headship and the husband takes it in as, yeah, like Christ dying for the church, there's never really any complaints.
Well, get her, like Adam got it wrong. So if you got all the way back to creation, when Eve sinned, if Adam had ran to God and been like, "Hey man, she just bleeped up, but it's my fault because you put her under my care," what do you think God would have did? And as men, like, we have to own our families and all of our bleep ups. And oftentimes we forget that we're called, when we lead, to be the first. It's the first to serve. It's the first to repent. It's the first to say, "I'm sorry."
Good one.
It's there's a lot to this leadership being a man that men really don't want to address.
Right.
Like, a good man is going to be like, "You know what? I should have just watched it." Even if it's not your day. Even like, when I come home, if the first thing I do is apologize to my wife and Malia sees that, she's like her mind is blown. But it's truly what being a good man is.
Dude, I heard the most powerful thing the other day. For the last year or so, full year, I'd seen a counselor for the first time off and on. And we were talking through like anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, all that kind of stuff. And I forget the percentage she said, but it was something like 85 or 90% of healthy attachment in relationship with your kids is accomplished in the reconciling of hurts. So I tend to think it happens when you do it all right, when you have tucked them in all the times, when you when you've been void of mistakes, but being the first to repent just it gave me so much peace, because I was like, well, I know I'm going to screw up, but if me being the best dad looks like me being the best repenter, of like,
I got a chance.
We are about to be tight, you know?
Huge,
and so I just
huge.
feel like you can't, that's such a powerful reality that if as men, if we can own, hey, daddy shouldn't have yelled like that, or with our wives, hey, I'm sorry, there's so many areas where I'm getting it wrong that if I can be the first to to lay my pride down and repent. It's like, man, I don't know that there's something much more manly. You know?
And I think, we're in dangerous territory as men if we think that being a man is all like about authority and it's not about ownership and responsibility. Yeah. So it's like, to me, it's like that's actually a burden to bear if you understand it right. It's like it's to love sacrificially, it's to take the hits, it's to, in my marriage, I'm married to a strong woman. She's, in a lot of circles, like people don't know who I am. They're like, oh, you're Andy's husband. That's like awesome. You know what I mean? And so she travels, she preaches, she writes, she's a strong woman. But I understand like that, in our marriage, the way we approach it is like, we're traditional. At the end of the day, I'm the head of the household. And for me, what that means is, man, I have responsibility when we disagree on something to bring it before God. There's been plenty of times over the years when we were, pastoring a church together. We would share the preaching, all of that stuff. But there was a couple times where she would come, she had discernment about a situation, usually a person, and I would make a decision the other way. 9 times out of 10, I was wrong. And she wouldn't rub it in my face. Like she had every right to say, I told you so. Like she literally told me so. But it's like, man, I bear that burden before God that it's like it ultimately fell to me to make that decision and I got it wrong. And I need to clean up my mess and I need to apologize for that. But I do think to us, that's what like a rightly ordered household looks like. But it looks like what you were saying, like a posture of servanthood. Mm-hmm.
And you've learned now, and it's just a matter of time and practice, but you've learned now when to lean on Andy's discernment in certain situations. Like now, you can spot it out. You can be like, oh that's something that Andy would be able to think through better than me.
Right. Well, exactly. We had a preacher, a teaching pastor of Bethel, Chris Valentin, came to us a couple times in New York. He's very prophetic. And long story short, he gave me, thankfully, privately, one of the strongest prophetic rebukes I've ever gotten in my life after spending a couple days with us. And so when the opening word of your, lining of your prophetic word is, you're killing this woman, like, oh, this isn't not going to be good. And it was all about being pace. Like, he's like, your heart is good, but you're running ahead of God. He's like, you're an apostle, but you're blind without your prophet. And she hadn't said a thing to him. Like, he's just reading my mail. And he goes, there's people that you run with that she doesn't trust. And just because she can't explain it to you doesn't mean she's wrong. And like, that really landed on me. Like, I had to really change my life, my outlook. It's like, I need to lean on her more. Yeah, like, okay, yes, I believe like ultimately like that responsibility falls to me to make the decision, but that's like, I can't take that lightly. I gotta weigh her count, because I would put it through my logic filter and it's like, and I'm like, prove it, It's like, give me evidence of that. You can't just write a person off. And it's like, well, that was the wrong frame. I was like, well, what are you feeling? What are you sensing? Let's pray into that. But I wasn't like listening to the prophet. I was just like, give me the data. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't add up. Well, it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And you're still wrong.
That is an important distinction, because I feel like in our home, like when Katie and I got married, she went to a junkyard and had a steering wheel pulled off of a Volkswagen and gave it to me as our wedding gift, just to say like, hey, I'm giving you the wheel. And so
I love that.
When it comes to like the end of the day, if we have to make a decision, there's been so many major story shaping moments that we disagreed and she deferred to me in terms of making a decision. So from headship, from that standpoint, I agree, we're very traditional. But in terms of the average day-to-day, what our lives look like, it's like you can have a traditional authority structure in terms of like headship in a home, but I would still say we very much submit to one another out of reverence for Christ on any given Tuesday when it comes to like, how are we going to make this life work? And so
I will say on that, I think one thing we've landed on, even just in recent years, though, is when we are on different pages, if this is a major decision, more often than not, we're just going to decide not to decide until we get into alignment and unity. Because I do think there is something about being together on it. It's different on like the sort of the passing parenthood decision. Should we buy this or not? How do we want to discipline the child for this or that? I mean, those kinds of things is one thing, but, like kind of major life decisions. It's like,
it's worth waiting.
I've realized for me, maybe it's just me coaching me right now. It's like, I don't do well when I'm on a different page than her, and I don't have the best track record of, oftentimes I know the right thing, but I'm very often wrong on the right time. And so I'm better most often to wait and submit it to God and say, bring us together on this. And when we're together, we'll move forward.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been awesome. We may have to do a part 2 because there's a lot of stuff that we're not able to even get into. But I want to kind of close things out here. And Gwenny, my second oldest daughter, she was in the kitchen. We were watching Pacers and the Bucks, and Halliburton and Lillard were really jawing at each other, and she said something to the effect of, see, this is why women are smarter than men, because we would never be doing that. Like, she just thought it was really funny. These guys are jawing at each other. She's like, what are they doing? So what I want to close this out with is I think that there are very much so some traits and characteristics of males that are more common amongst males that also have exceptions. And same thing with females. I think there's a lot of ways which females are like, oh man, we understand this sort of thing as women and only we can understand. And there's exceptions to the stereotypes. My question is, how much of it do you guys feel that it's nature versus nurture? And I'll just throw one example out there because we really do have to wrap it up. But you don't see as many little girl video gamers. And it would seem like you could make a case for, just little girls don't gravitate towards that sort of thing. Like, that's more of a competitive thing that boys like. And, there's a lot of boys who are now men still gaming and they enjoy it. That's a hobby for them. But that's kind of how they're wired up. Or is it that culture said, we're marketing video games to boys. We know that boys are supposed to like these things, just like they're supposed to like G.I. Joe figures and they're supposed to like He-Man figures. Do y'all see it as a hybrid of nature and nurture that we'll never be able to really parcel out and distinguish, or do y'all see it kind of heavier in one direction or the other? 5 minutes, go.
Well, they don't have to market video games to girls because the world is marketed to girls. Why would I worry about, if I'm a video game consumer, I'm not going to even go after them because I know that I'm never going to be able to compete with Barbie. I'm never going to be able to compete with American Girl doll. Like, the money is not there. But for video games, like, there's not...
Right. So the question is, because that's how girls are and they gravitate towards that stuff.
Right. Like, they're not going to, it just makes no sense.
So nature.
Yeah, it's nature.
It's
and
more
when
nature.
we talk about trash talking, that's because, get mad at me for what I'm about to say, I really don't care. Women are more
Felix
emotional.
Copeland at Seacoast.org.
At Seacoast.org.
Yep.
Women are more emotional. So I can sit here and talk trash to you in a basketball game and we'll be fine. And we can go to Dog and Duck afterwards. But if my wife and your wife start talking trash, they're crying and they're calling us. And then they're probably going to want us to duke it out. Like, guys and girls are just wired different, man. Like, they just are. If you ever see two girls in a basketball game and they're jawing like Dame and Halliburton, they're probably about to fight. Like, very rarely do you see two women have a heated conversation, emotions flare up, and they just walk away without whatever. Think of Cardoza.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Flage.
Yeah. Hey, I will say, as a middle school teacher, I have found that when you break up fights, a little off track here, when you break up fights between two dudes, it's almost like they'll pretend like they still want to fight and they'll keep yelling and stuff, but deep down they're like, teacher stepped in, I'm off the hook. Women, you have to physically remove them. I had to place a girl in a classroom, slam the door, hold it shut, because once they cross that threshold of wanting to fight,
it's on.
It is on, and they don't care about suspension, expulsion, or anything. Anyway, just a little middle school teacher observation. What about you guys as we wrap this up?
I think it's a little nuanced, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think nature is huge. And when you watch little kids play, really, and you look back even in the generations, I think there's just some dominant traits boys have in the way that they play, the way they talk and grow up, what they enjoy, and some dominant traits. But there is a spectrum, right? And that's where sometimes when we stereotype too hard, like, this is just me, my thoughts, but I think in the generations gone by, they might have stereotyped it so hard that people didn't feel manly unless they did certain things. And I think culture has flipped to the point where now we've tried, the broader culture, media, and I think honestly some agendas have blurred it so much, and just almost like the stereotypes are the enemy, you know what I mean? And you talk masculinity, we assume you mean toxic masculinity. So now they're blurring it so much that it's like, to me, that's a pity. And I think that leaves people confused because there's kind of no thing to kind of rally around. It's almost like gender is nothing. We're all the same. And that just doesn't ring true with people, So I think there's like a balance that we have to strike, which is not like so stereotyped that just a lot of everyday people that are every bit a woman, every bit a man feel like, I don't know if I really live up to the culture standard for this. But then I think we're on a slippery slope when we break that stuff down, because I just, in the beginning, he created the man and woman. I mean, it's like literally the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
I think I really like how you articulated that.
We're in hybrid times in the sense of like, whether it's my Abigail story or your example with the hunting stuff. And now for you to have not done it for 43 years and now your son spends a month in Africa being a trained guide, it's like a big part of that was nature, in the sense of like this awakening you've experienced and your son 100%. Wanting that. So there's undeniable power in the nature element of what those closest to us or nurture what those closest to us pick up from us. But it's also just crazy in that there's never been a generation where, when you were living in Australia, my son could be following you on social media and be influenced by your heart and passions from a person he may have never met. And so there's also like, these are just weird times, and that we're being shaped by so many different influences and inputs that, sure, does nurture or nature have a big hand? Absolutely. But nurture does too, just because we give so many people our attention. So
That's good.
All right, fellas. Thank y'all. It really has been fun. This was great.
Enjoyed it. Privilege.
You've been watching Seacoast Church's Things You Won't Hear on Sunday podcast. You can now become a patron of this podcast and receive exclusive content. Your support goes towards Seacoast ministry efforts and local presence. Also, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe to this podcast so that you get these episodes as soon as they're released. All of this information can be found in the show notes. Thanks for watching.